The IFS has warned that the tax cuts promised by Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak may not be possible after inflation rose above that 10% mark, a new 40-year high.
So does the former Chancellor Rishi Sunak have an answer? Well, we're joined now by one of his supporters, former Conservative Chief Whip Mark Harper. Good morning, Mark. What is the solution then? Inflation skyrocketing, going to go up higher, which may now mean that the promises Rishi Sunak's made become redundant.
Well, I think what comes through very clearly from what the IFS has said is that it's exactly what Rishi's been saying, that the top priority, the first priority of government should be dealing with inflation and getting a grip of inflation, because inflation makes everybody poorer, pushes up the cost of delivering services, and it increases the cost of servicing our debt. So that has to be the first priority, and it's only when you've dealt with inflation and you're growing the economy that you can then look to make tax cuts once you've got the public finances in shape. And it's, by contrast, the reason why putting over £50 billion of tax cuts funded by borrowing, as his opponent wants to do, that'll make inflation worse, and I don't think is rooted in the economic reality facing the country at the moment.
Mark, there's a bit of a battle, isn't there? Because the leadership campaign feels as though, and we've had this from political commentators who've been on the programme today, as though it's dragging a little bit. And Rishi Sunak, by all accounts in the polls, Liz Truss has really widened her lead. So how are you, as one of his supporters, going to sort of reinvigorate this, get us interested again and say, you know, Rishi can do this? Because you're, if anything, being benefited by having just that couple of weeks extra to try and pull ahead in that lead, which looks as though, according to the polls, is almost impossible.
Well, look, a couple of things. First of all the way through this contest, it feels just like the 2015 election, when we got told all the way through by every poll that we weren't going to win. And then, funnily enough, in the actual poll that mattered, the one where real people actually did voting, we won. And I've been at a number of meetings that Rishi's done, both hustings with both candidates, but also meetings he's done by himself. He's been having a fantastic response from our members. I think our members recognise that his policies to deal with the economy are the ones that are going to deal with both inflation, but also helping vulnerable and poorer people through this winter. You're not going to be able to help pensioners and people on working their socks off on the national living wage by tax cuts, because they don't pay enough tax. You're going to have to give them direct support to help them pay their energy bills. And when you explain that to people, he's getting a lot of support. So I'm afraid I don't think the polls reflect reality on the ground. So I'm very confident and continuing to make the argument for him. I think the government that gets elected, whoever wins this contest, is going to face some incredibly tough economic headwinds, and it's about having the policies to deal with those that I think is necessary, and Rishi's got the policies to deal with those, and I think his arguments have just been reinforced by what the IFS said last night.
Let's talk about the numbers we do know about then, rather than polls, which of course are speculative. MPs. Rishi Sunak has, of course, touted support from MPs, but more MPs now support Liz Truss than they do Rishi Sunak. Why is that?
Well, he topped the poll on votes of MPs, so when MPs were actually voting at every stage of the contest. So he topped the poll every stage of the contest when MPs were asked to vote, and came out of that ahead. We're now battling between members, so what MPs say now isn't important. What's important are what the members are doing, and as I said, he's going around the country doing enormous numbers of meetings with members, meeting thousands of members around the country, not just in the hustings, but in meetings he's doing directly. And he's been getting a terrific response. I've seen that for myself on the ground when he's been challenged, both in terms of his remarks, but then he's been dealing with questions incredibly well on a whole range of issues, but also on the economy. That's the number one issue facing the country. It's about dealing with inflation, helping people through the winter, getting the economy growing again, and then delivering tax cuts when we can afford it. That's the right plan for the challenges facing the country, which is why I'm very confident and continuing to support him.
Just finally, one of the things you've really been campaigning for Rishi Sunak is saying that he's honest, that he's an honest politician. In fact, on one of your tweets, you say he'll bring honesty, integrity, grip and determination. That word honesty is the first word that you choose to stress. That's a sorry state of affairs, isn't it? If saying that someone will tell the truth is one of the main things you're campaigning on.
Well, look, I think we have to be honest about why we're having this contest. We're having this contest because the current Prime Minister made some very bad judgments on a number of serious issues and then wasn't straightforward about it. And I think one of the things, if you look at why a number of voters who voted for us in 2019 have turned away from the Conservative Party, is because they didn't like that. And I think one of the ways that you get them back is you tell the truth and you're honest with them. And I think one of the things about this contest is Rishi's being straightforward and honest with people about the really serious economic challenge facing us. I mean, I heard that in your previous discussion. Inflation needs to be dealt with, it needs to be brought down, and the government needs to work with the Bank of England to make that happen, not big unfunded tax cuts that make the situation worse and life harder for people across the country.